In my previous life, my father fell seriously ill, and I sold myself into servitude. After obtaining the silver needed for his treatment, I followed the matchmaker to the capital. Coincidentally, the Marquis's wife had been childless for many years, and they decided to buy a surrogate mother for the Marquis. The matchmaker, seeing that I was sensible, sent me there. After that, I was confined to the small courtyard, giving birth to one child after another. The Marquis's household had strict rules. I was never allowed to leave the courtyard, nor was I permitted to see my children. The children were taken away as soon as they were born. Whether these children lived or died, whether they were boys or girls, what they looked like or what their temperaments were, I knew nothing at all. At first, I would beg the Marquis to let me see them just once, but all I got in return was a scolding. After giving birth to my 7th child, I felt I couldn't hold on any longer, so I begged the Marquis again. The Marquis stroked my hair tenderly and comforted me, saying, "Yunzai, wait a little longer. When the children are older, I will have them come pay their respects to you." So I waited and waited, until my hair turned grey, until I was gravely ill. But I never got to see my children even once. I said the Marquis had deceived me, but the Marquis said it was the children who didn't want to see me. My heart was instantly pierced with pain. At the moment I closed my eyes, I thought, if there is a next life, I definitely don't want to enter this Marquis mansion anymore. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself crouched under the eaves of a dilapidated house. As I took in my surroundings, my heart skipped a beat. By the grace of the Bodhisattva, I had actually returned to the matchmaker's house. I looked down at my own body, thin, weak, and youthful. It was exactly how I looked at 15, my face flushed with excitement. Heaven favors the honest, and it had given me another chance. In the courtyard, the matchmaker was haggling with a man. "I bought my girl from Yujo. She's pretty, sensible, and obedient. 10 taels of silver, not a penny less." The tall man frowned deeply, clearly thinking 10 taels was too expensive. "Just 5 taels. I don't need someone with good looks, just someone who knows how to serve." The matchmaker glanced at me, somewhat hesitant. I could tell from the matchmaker's expression that she was about to give up persuading the man, so I quickly stepped forward to promote myself. "Sir, I know how to take care of people, boil water and cook, raise chickens and ducks. I can do it all. Please buy me and take me home." On this day in my past life, 2 people came to the small courtyard, one after the other. The man before me was the first one. He haggled with the matchmaker, and in the end, unwilling to pay 10 taels of silver, he left. After he left, someone from the Marquis's household came, paid 20 taels of silver, and bought me to serve as Xie Huiping's surrogate wife. The man looked at me but said nothing. It seemed he was still unwilling. I quickly continued to promote myself. Besides these, I can also write, keep accounts, do needlework, and embroidery. If you buy me, you definitely won't lose out. The man seemed somewhat tempted but still a bit reluctant. He said to the matchmaker, 6 taels of silver. The matchmaker saw an opportunity and was unwilling to back down. "Not a single tael less than 10 taels of silver, my lord. Look at this girl's fine character. Her parents had a hard time raising her. Please show some kindness and buy her with your silver. Her father is from my hometown. When I return, I'll give them 1 tael of the silver. As a token of your generosity." After much persuasion, the man reluctantly took out 10 taels of silver. "I'm buying this person. If they're not as good as you claim, I'll be returning them." I breathed a sigh of relief. Everything I said was true, so I wasn't afraid of him returning me. After signing the contract, I followed this man and left. As we exited the courtyard, I happened to pass by the chief steward of the Marquis household. I shrank behind the man, my steps continuously following him. Only after we had walked far away did I finally breathe a sigh of relief in my heart. I hope that in this lifetime, I will never have any connection with that Marquis residence again. After walking for a quarter of an hour, we arrived at the man's home. Back home, the man first fetched water to wash his face, then handed me a bowl of water. "Drink." I was momentarily stunned, thanked him, took the bowl, and drank it all in one go. After putting down the bowl, I noticed he was looking at me, and I felt a bit embarrassed. "Please excuse my manners, sir." The matchmaker, afraid we might embarrass her, seldom gives us water to drink. I was just terribly thirsty earlier. The man didn't say much, just led me into the house. He told me his name was Du Chongguang, a city guard. He had an elderly mother at home who was currently ill and needed someone to take care of her. He wasn't in a hurry to have me meet his mother. Instead, he took me around the small courtyard, introducing me to every spot. "This is the kitchen, that's the outhouse, here's my room, and over there is his room." I followed behind him, responding from time to time. It's just that occasionally, when I looked at his back, my mind would still wander. This wasn't the first time I had seen him, but it was the first time I knew his name. In my previous life, I had only seen him twice in total. The first time was at the matchmaker's house. The second time was at the Marquis estate, that year. There was some joyous occasion at the Marquis estate, and many people were invited. The front courtyard was bustling with the sounds of gongs and drums. The maids and elderly servants all went to watch the excitement. I was left alone in the small courtyard. There was a plum tree in the yard. I stood under the tree, staring blankly beyond the courtyard, not daring to take a single step out. The Marquis's residence had many ways to torment people, so I was cautious with my words and actions. Afraid of making even the slightest mistake, I was wondering what happy event was happening in the mansion when suddenly a voice came from the tree. "If you want to see the excitement, why not go?" I was startled, thinking a thief had come. Looking up, it was pitch black, and I couldn't see anything. I shouted loudly, "Who are you? How dare you trespass into the backyard of the Marquis's residence?" The voice replied, "I am a guest invited by the household, here to attend the apprenticeship ceremony of the Marquis's heir. The front courtyard is too noisy, and this place is quiet, so I came here to rest. Don't be afraid, I'll leave right away." Hearing the words Marquis's heir, my heart stirred, and I quickly called out to stop him. "Wait, don't go. Did you say today is the apprenticeship ceremony for the Marquis's heir?" "Yes." I then asked him, "From up in this tree, can you see far? Can you see the front courtyard?" Hearing that he could see, I begged him to teach me how to climb the tree. He agreed, but my body was clumsy, and even after he taught me for a while, I still couldn't learn. He then said, "Excuse me," and lifted me up. Only then did I clearly see his face, a thick beard, sharp and distinct eyebrows and eyes, with a small mole at the corner of his left eye. It was the man I had once seen at the matchmaker's house. That day, after I climbed the tree, I could only see the brightly lit front courtyard, but couldn't make out any figures clearly. I grew bored after watching for a while, but I didn't want to climb down either, so I chatted idly with Du Chengguang. I asked him what the young master looked like, whether he was well behaved and obedient, and if he had seen any of the Marquis's other children. He told me everything in detail, but unfortunately, his mind was preoccupied with other matters, and he paid little attention to the affairs of the Marquis's household. I asked him many questions, and to my surprise, he couldn't answer most of them. He then asked me who I was. I didn't answer and instead asked him what was on his mind. Perhaps it was because he hadn't spoken to anyone in a long time, or perhaps it was because the moonlight was particularly beautiful that night. But he told me many things. He spoke of the plum tree back in his hometown, and then he spoke of his mother. He said, "My mother was a very good person, but unfortunately, I didn't live up to her expectations and failed to give her a comfortable life." Only then did I realize that his mother had passed away not long ago. I'm not good with words and terrible at comforting people, so I just said dryly, "My condolences." He responded softly and said nothing more. We stayed up in the tree for a long time that day, until the banquet in the front courtyard ended and the maids and old women who had gone to watch the excitement returned. Only then did he help me down from the tree, and we left under the cover of night. After that day, whenever I couldn't sleep, I would think about climbing up the tree. I secretly tried a few times and actually managed to climb up. I found the only joy in the Marquis's residence, and I visited this treasured spot many times. The last time I went up, I accidentally fell from the tree. The exclamation drew the attention of the maids, and my love for climbing trees was discovered. The next day, Xie Huiping ordered someone to cut down the tree. The Du residence wasn't large, and we finished touring it in less than a quarter of an hour. Finally, Du Chengguang led me to a room facing the sun. He said to me, "My mother lives here, follow me, and from now on, you just need to take good care of her." I nodded in agreement. The room was small. Lifting the door curtain, I saw a frail old woman lying weakly on the bed. When she saw Du Chengguang, she pursed her lips and smiled. "You're off duty so early today." When she saw my surprise, she used her arms to try and sit up. "You child, we have a guest at home and you didn't even mention it first." Du Chengguang quickly stepped forward to support her. "Mother, this young lady is here to take care of you." I also stepped forward and tucked in her quilt corner. "Madam, my name is Mainyang. From now on, I'll be taking care of you." The old woman was taken aback and said to Du Chengguang with a hint of reproach, "I may be old, but I have hands and feet. I don't need anyone to wait on me. You should ask this young lady to go back." Du Chengguang glanced at me. I understood the cue and excused myself, saying I would go boil some water, let the mother and son talk in private. By the time I came out of the kitchen, Du Chongguang was standing in the corridor. He said to me, "I've already persuaded mother, so don't worry, as long as you take good care of my mother, I will certainly treat you well." I nodded with a smile. Du Chongguang finished his instructions and left. He had only taken half a day off today. I filled a wooden basin with some hot water and carried it into the old lady's room. The old lady's eyes were red, as if she had been crying. I pretended not to notice and said to her, "Madam, I've boiled some hot water. Would you like me to wipe your face and body, and then soak your feet? When you're ill, feeling refreshed can help you recover faster." The old lady looked a bit reserved, as if she wasn't used to being waited on, but fortunately, she didn't make things difficult for me. She lifted the quilt and slowly moved to sit on the edge of the bed. I placed the wooden basin on the floor, helped her sit properly, propped a pillow behind her back, and let her lean against the bed frame. She wet the cloth again, wrung it out, and wiped her face, neck, and arms. The old lady remained silent the entire time. It wasn't until I crouched down to wash her feet that she finally spoke to me. She asked me where I was from and who else was in my family. I answered them one by one. My mother passed away a few years ago, leaving only my father and my younger siblings at home. My mother was ill for 7 or 8 years before she passed, and I took care of her all that time, after she died. My father fell ill as well. My father works as an accountant, and all our household expenses depend on him. If anything were to happen to him, my siblings and I would have no means of survival. I had no other choice but to sell myself, just to leave him some money for medicine. The old madam, upon hearing my story, sighed and said, "How pitiful." I smiled. It wasn't all that pitiful. The matchmaker was a good person. She specifically allowed me to stay at home for a few extra days. Before I left, my father had taken the medicine and his health had already improved greatly. Later, when I was in the Marquis's residence, I also received letters from my father. In these times, just being able to survive is already extremely fortunate. When the water cooled, I wiped the old madam's feet clean and helped her to the bed. Let her rest for a while. I'll go prepare the medicine. While the medicine was brewing, I took out some rice flour, planning to make a pancake for lunch. I rummaged through the vegetable basket and surprisingly found a piece of meat. I cut off a small piece of the meat to make a meat soup to nourish the old madam. By the time lunch was ready, the medicine had finished brewing as well. I helped the old lady to the main hall and first served her meal. Only after she had eaten her fill did I take a flatbread for myself. The old lady pushed the meat broth toward me. "You have some too. An old woman like me can't drink that much." I declined. "Madam, I'm young, a flatbread is enough for me." The old lady was reserved by nature. Seeing that I wouldn't drink it, she didn't press further. After finishing lunch, I brought her the cooled medicine and had her drink it. After watching her finish the medicine, I asked if she wanted to go back to her room to lie down or sit in the courtyard for a while. The old lady chose to sit in the courtyard. "This old woman has been lying in bed for 2 days, and my bones are aching." I nodded, placed the only wicker chair in the house under the eaves, added a cushion, and helped the old lady settle into the chair. I tidied up the yard, and while the sun hadn't set yet, I took out the cotton quilts from my room and the old lady's room to air them out. The clothes pole was long and sturdy, and even after laying out 2 quilts, it still wasn't fully covered. I thought for a moment and asked the old lady, should we take out the master's cotton quilt to air it out as well? The old lady waved her hand and said, "Sure, go ahead. My son has no particular taboos. You can just go straight into his room." I did as I was told. I entered the room without looking around much, picked up the cotton quilt that was haphazardly placed on the bed, and left. After tidying up, 3 cotton quilts were neatly hung on the clothes rack. When the sun set, I carried all the quilts back into the room and carefully folded them. Du Chongguang returned at dusk, and his timing was just right. I had already scalded the flatbread and made a pot of meat soup. The remaining meat was stir-fried with a bit of salt until fragrant and then served. Du Chongguang was tall and sturdy, but his footsteps were light. I only noticed when he casually placed the pork he brought back into a basket on the kitchen table. I smiled and said to him, "You've returned just in time, sir. The food is ready. Please wait in the main hall." Du Chongguang responded indifferently and then walked away. I placed the fresh meat he had brought back into a small basket, then used a rope to lower the basket into the well to keep the meat from spoiling. After finishing that, I returned to the kitchen and realized that Du Chongguang had also taken out the flatbread I had prepared for myself. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to go get it now, so I had to hide in the kitchen and wait until they finished eating before going out. But I hadn't been waiting long when Du Chongguang came in. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. Why are you staying here instead of going to eat? Mother is hungry. Me. It's not quite appropriate for me to eat with the host family. Du Chongguang. We don't have that rule in my house. Get out here. He looked a bit fierce, so I didn't dare say anything more. I followed him with small steps and, at his gesture, sat down at the table. The old lady smiled and pushed a bowl and chopsticks in front of me. I said thank you and saw the bowl of burnt flatbread placed in front of Du Chongguang. I was just about to take it for myself to eat. Du Chongguang grabbed the broken pieces from the bowl first and ate them in a few bites. The old lady placed a perfectly baked flatbread into my bowl. It's fine, you eat it. His loved burnt food since he was little. I had no choice but to put my hand down and take small bites of the pancake in my bowl. After eating half of it, I felt thirsty and thought about going to the kitchen to get a bowl of water. A bowl of meat soup was pushed in front of me. I declined as if it were noon. But Du Chongguang didn't say a word, just kept looking at me. I didn't dare move a muscle, and under the pressure of his gaze, I finally finished the bowl of meat soup. That bowl of soup blurred the distance between me and the Du mother and son. From then on, I started having meals with them. After more than a month of recuperating at home, Madame Du's health had greatly improved. One day, I noticed we were out of flour, so I mentioned it to Du Chongguang before he left the house. He gave me 3 strings of coins and told me to go buy some myself. I accepted the money and asked if I could take the old lady with me. Since I wasn't familiar with the capital, Du Chongguang agreed. Du's mother was very happy to learn that she could go out today. After going out, she was in no hurry to go shopping. She specifically took me for a walk to the well at the end of the alley. The weather was just right now, neither too hot nor too cold, and many women sat by the well. Sewing and chatting, they greeted Du's mother as soon as they saw her. Du's mother cheerfully chatted with them for a while and even introduced me to them. Oh, this is my niece from my hometown. She came especially to take care of this old woman. I was a bit surprised and a bit moved. I followed her lead and called her aunt. These women were quite curious about me. Seeing that I was of marriageable age, they asked if I was married and what kind of man I liked. Each question becoming more and more blunt, Mother Du was displeased and pulled me behind her. She's just a young lady. Are you all picking on her? Finally, I scolded the one who asked the most questions a few more times. My good mood from the whole morning was almost completely ruined by the scolding. I quickly pulled her away. Aunt, we still need to go shopping. If we go too late, the goods won't be fresh anymore. Du's mother suddenly realized. Yes, I almost forgot. We arrived at the main street. We bought some rice, flour, and pickled vegetables. Seeing that there were chicks for sale, we also bought a few young hens, thinking they would lay eggs for us once they grew up. We then went to the rice shop to buy a few pounds of brown rice to feed the chickens and had the rice shop deliver everything to the Du family. It only took a little over an hour to complete the shopping, just as the old lady and I were about to head back with a few chicks. Someone grabbed hold of me. Yunzai. My heart skipped a beat. Yunzai was the name the Marquis had given me in my previous life after I entered the Marquis's residence. In this life, I never entered the Marquis's mansion. No one should have known about it. I forced myself not to turn around, my voice hoarse as I said, "Sir, you've mistaken me for someone else." But the man was relentless, gripping my hand tightly and refusing to let go. "Turn around and let me see. Then I'll know if I've mistaken you or not." At first, the name Yunzai didn't ring a bell, but now his voice sounded increasingly familiar. My heart was instantly thrown into turmoil. Could it be that, besides me, he had also been reborn? The person behind me, seeing that I still hadn't moved, increased the pressure in his grip, his tone growing even more dangerous. "Miss," I didn't dare to evade any longer, forcing myself to calm my mind as I slowly turned around. "Young master, you've mistaken me for someone else. My name isn't Yunzai." The younger version of Xie Huiping looked at me inquisitively. "Yunzai, do you really not remember me?" I pretended to carefully look him over for a moment. "Sir, I don't know you. You've truly mistaken me for someone else." Xie Huiping seemed to believe my words. His lips relaxed into a smile. "All right, it's fine if you don't recognize me. Where do you live now? I'll send a matchmaker to propose, and in a few days, I'll have you carried through my door." 10. His casual remark about taking me in as his bride sent me into a panic. "Young master, you jest. I am already betrothed to someone." Xie Huiping, "To whom have you promised yourself?" "I will compensate him with some silver." As soon as the words were spoken, Mother Du, who had been quietly listening nearby, suddenly slapped him. Xie Huiping was startled and instinctively took a few steps back. My hand naturally let go of me. Du's mother pulled me behind her and shouted at him at the top of her voice. "What a load of crap. This is my daughter-in-law. Where did this scoundrel come from?" How dare you snatch a woman in broad daylight? Don't you believe I'll go to the authorities? Being insulted like this for the first time, Xie Huaiping was momentarily stunned. Upon regaining his composure, he responded with great displeasure, "You insolent woman." Before he could finish speaking, he noticed many women who had heard the commotion gathering around. Everyone was pointing at him, all dressed up like a dog. It seems to be from the Marquis of Yongchang's family. There is no law and order. One of the familiar women even shouted to Du's mother, "Mrs. Du, my son is fast on his feet. Should I have him go report to the authorities for you?" Du's mother shouted back at her. "Wait a moment, let's go together." Du's mother pulled me and started walking away from the crowd. "Halt!" Xie Huaiping wanted to chase after us, but the women around him gradually closed in, blocking his line of sight. Someone even threw a handful of rotten vegetable leaves. "Scoundrel!" The women began cursing at him all at once, with vulgar language pouring out incessantly. The laws of this dynasty are not overly harsh towards women, and the law does not punish the multitude. If a man has a dispute with a group of women, people will only mock the man for provoking shrews, and the women will not be punished. Most women in the old capital would gang up on a lecher when they encountered one. Xie Huaiping didn't want to become a laughingstock, so he quickly slipped away before the women could surround him. I followed Mother Du back home, watching her expression. I carefully explained that I had no connection with Xie Huaiping, worried she might not believe me. I even thought about swearing an oath. Du's mother quickly grabbed my raised finger. "You silly child, no one said we don't believe you. I've seen exactly what kind of person you are this past month. It must be that libertine who, seeing how pretty you are, deliberately said those disgusting things to upset you." She told me to rest assured and stay with the Du family, saying that with her son around, no one would dare bully me. I forced a smile, but my heart remained uneasy. Having shared a bed with Xie Huaiping for decades in my previous life, I understood his temperament all too well. He has always emphasized the importance of hierarchy and cannot stand being defied by his subordinates. If he were also reborn and learned of my past, he would only need to find the matchmaker. Out of fear of his power, the matchmaker would likely reveal all the details of my origins and whereabouts. At that point, whether I stay or leave would no longer be my decision to make. My mind was in turmoil, one moment thinking I should flee, the next wondering where I could possibly go. One moment I thought of my family in Yuzhou, the next of Mother Du and her son. If I ran away, would I bring trouble upon them? After thinking for a long time, I still hadn't figured out what to do, and in my distraction, I accidentally burned myself. I rinsed my hands hastily with water, and once the stinging subsided a bit, I went back to work. I didn't dare stop the moment I paused. The panic only grew stronger. When Du Chongguang returned from his duty, he frowned the moment he laid eyes on me. "What happened to your hand?" At that moment, I was carrying an empty bowl toward the main hall and instinctively glanced at my wrist when I heard his words. A long blister had formed where I had been scalded. I placed the bowl and chopsticks on the table, pulled my sleeve down a bit, and said to him with a smile, "It's nothing, just a burn. I'll apply some plant ash to it later. And it'll be fine." Du Chongguang remained expressionless and said nothing. After spending a long time together, seeing his cold face no longer felt frightening. Seeing that he wasn't speaking, I went ahead on my own to call Mother Du for dinner. Du Chongguang was in a bad mood today, and throughout the entire meal, he didn't utter a single word. After finishing, he directly put down his bowl and went out. Du's mother watched his retreating figure and sighed. "It's so late at night. I wonder what he's going to do." I comforted her. "Men always have some social engagements. Don't worry, madam, the master has some martial arts skills. No one would dare to provoke him." After finishing the meal, I cleared the bowls and chopsticks, then went to boil water. When the water was hot, I fetched it to wash Du's mother's feet. Du Chongguang returned at this moment. "My Niang, come out for a moment." Du Chongguang stood in the shadows outside the door, and I couldn't see his expression clearly. Du's mother nudged my hand with her foot and said with a smile, "Go ahead, I can wash myself." I nodded, dried my hands on my apron, and went out. Du Chongguang handed me a bottle of burn ointment. "Later, you should pop the blister and then apply this ointment. It should heal in a few days." The ointment was contained in a small jar the size of a palm, delicate and cute, looking quite expensive. I didn't dare accept it and was about to refuse. But without waiting for my response, he tossed the small jar into my arms, then he walked past me and entered Du's mother's room. The door closed, cutting off my words of refusal in my throat. Inside, Du's mother was still asking, in this pitch darkness, "You're letting her apply the medicine herself. Why don't you help her?" I fled back to my room as if escaping. After calming my emotions, I lit the oil lamp and, by its faint light, unscrewed the lid of the small jar. I set the jar aside. Then took out a needle, heated it over the flame, and carefully pricked the blister on my left wrist. After wiping away the pus, I applied a milky burn ointment. Almost instantly, the previously burning pain turned cool and soothing. I let out a long sigh and relaxed, leaning back against the bed. Both physically and mentally, I was utterly exhausted today. I no longer had the heart to think about anything else, and felt perfectly justified in taking things one step at a time. To keep myself from falling asleep, I forced myself to perk up and went to the kitchen to fetch water for washing up in my room. After a quick cleanup, I turned off the lights. Early the next morning, before dawn had even broken, in my drowsy state, I heard the sound of splashing water coming from outside. I lifted the curtain to look outside and saw Du Chongguang taking a shower out there. I didn't dare to look closely, quickly letting the curtain fall back into place. After waiting quietly for a while and hearing no more movement outside, I got dressed and got up to prepare breakfast. Today was Du Chongguang's day off, and he didn't stop all morning. He was hammering away in the yard, fixing the broken parts. After finishing the chores at home, he went outside and brought back several bundles of firewood. By the time he finished, it was almost noon. I was about to prepare some food when an unexpected guest arrived outside the yard. At the first glance of the visitor, I turned pale and ran into the house. Xie Huiping had indeed found his way here. Du's mother also saw him. She grabbed Du Chongguang, who was about to open the door, and told him about what had happened the day before. Du Chongguang glanced at Mainyang's tightly shut door and thought to himself, no wonder she seemed so restless yesterday. He pushed his mother into her room and told her not to come out. I'll handle this matter. Don't worry. After Du's mother entered her room, he opened the courtyard gate and let the young master outside come in. It's not appropriate to discuss matters concerning a young lady's reputation out in the open. After rushing into the room in a panic. One moment I thought about packing my things and fleeing, and the next moment I felt that running away was useless. I should fight him to the death. I picked up the bowl I used for drinking water from the bedside, wrapped it in old clothes, and carefully smashed it against the floor. From the broken pieces, I picked out a sharp fragment and gripped it tightly in my hand. After doing all this, I felt a bit more at ease. That's right, at worst, it's a fight to the death. I crouched at the foot of the bed, my eyes fixed on the door, clutching a piece of broken porcelain in my hand. I thought to myself, no matter who opens this door later, I'll charge at them. If it's Du Chongguang, with his martial arts skills, he'll naturally be able to dodge. If it's Xie Huiping, it would be best to kill him. If I can't kill him, I'll kill myself. In this lifetime, I would rather die than set foot in the Marquis's residence again. After waiting for about half an hour, there was movement at the door. Someone knocked on the door, and I hoarsely told them to come in. The door was pushed open, and before I could clearly see who it was, I charged forward with a shard of broken porcelain in my hand. It was only when I got close that I realized it was Du Chongguang, but it was too late to pull back. I crashed right into his arms, and the broken porcelain shard in my hand jabbed into his waist. He was fine, but my hand was cut and bleeding. I threw away the broken porcelain pieces, not caring that I was still in someone's arms, and just craned my neck to look outside. Only when I saw that Xie Huiping was gone did I let out a sigh of relief. As the tension faded, I didn't even have the strength to stand. Du Chongguang carefully helped me to the bed. It wasn't until he saw my right hand covered in blood that he realized what I had intended to do just moments before. His eyes darkened as he said, "Don't be afraid. He just asked me for you, but I refused. He won't come again." I couldn't help but cover my face and cry, as if pouring out all the grievances from 2 lifetimes. Completely forgetting that my hand was still injured, I smeared the blood all over my face. Du Chongguang couldn't bear to watch any longer. He firmly pulled my hands down and wrapped them with an old piece of clothing from the bed. He ordered me to press my hand down. "If you don't want to die, keep it pressed. I'm going out to find a doctor." I did as he said while crying. Du Chongguang also brought Du's mother over and asked her to keep an eye on me. Du's mother was heartbroken when she saw my condition. "Oh, you poor girl, how did you get hurt like this? Was it that scoundrel who did this to you?" I cried and shook my head. Seeing that she couldn't get anything out of me, Du's mother went to fetch water for me to wash my face. After cleaning me up, she sat beside me to comfort me. She chatted on softly, her voice reminding me of how my own mother used to comfort me when I was wronged as a child. Gradually, I stopped crying. As reason returned, the suppressed worries and fears surged back into my heart. Just then, Du Chongguang returned with the doctor. The doctor examined my hand, carefully cleaned it with cotton cloth, applied medicine, and then wrapped it with clean cotton cloth. Fortunately, the bones and tendons are not injured, it will heal in a few days. The old doctor gave some instructions and then left. My hand is injured, so I can't do much work. Mrs. Du took it upon herself to go to the kitchen to prepare lunch. Only Du Chengguang and I were left in the room. I told him I should be leaving. Du Chengguang frowned, his expression clearly displeased. Don't tell me you actually want to go to the Marquis estate. I've heard his wife is not an easy person to deal with. If you go, you'll only suffer. I didn't want him to think I was ungrateful. So I quickly explained, no, it's not that, I'm afraid of causing trouble for you. His family has great influence. If you offend him, I'm afraid. Du Chengguang's furrowed brow relaxed as he said calmly, don't worry too much, he may have power, but I have connections above me as well, I'm not afraid of him. And you don't need to worry either, just stay here peacefully. I was somewhat surprised, really, Du Chengguang nodded, telling me to rest assured and serve his mother at the Du residence while he handled matters outside. I was somewhat curious about who his backer was, but since he showed no intention of revealing it, I didn't press further. After that day, I stayed obediently at the Du residence and rarely went out. After a month of calm, I finally let my guard down. Xie Huiping should have given up. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, I have been with the Du family for 6 years. During this period, I have been extremely tense because, according to Du Chengguang, his mother passed away around this time in his previous life. He didn't specify what exactly happened to his mother, so I have to be cautious about everything. I often take her to the medical clinic to have the doctor check on her. I accompany her whenever she goes out for a stroll, and I even want to tag along when she goes to see the matchmaker. Mother Du was a bit puzzled. I'm finding a wife for your brother Du. And you want to come along? Are you thinking of getting married? I quickly waved my hands. No, I don't want to get married. I just want to take care of you. Du's mother smiled and pushed me back into the courtyard. This old woman's legs are still nimble. You go and attend to your own business. I understood that Du's mother had some private matters to attend to, and it wasn't convenient for me to accompany her. But I was truly uneasy, so after she left, I quietly slipped out and secretly followed behind her. The famous matchmaker of the capital lived in East Lane, and to get there, one had to pass through the main street. When I reached the main street, I found that Du's mother was gone. Just as I was looking around, I suddenly felt something hugging my leg. Looking down, I saw a child about 5 or 6 years old. The child was dressed in a brocade robe, looking as lovely as jade and snow, and was looking up at me. When he saw me looking at him, he called out softly, Mom Tilda. That single word Mom froze me in place, and by the time I regained my senses, tears were already streaming down my face. With trembling hands, I caressed his little face. You, what did you call me? Have you also come back? Which one are you? Weren't you unwilling to see me? The child was still young. He didn't understand my shock and just giggled, saying he wanted to take me to find Dad. Held by his soft hand, though he wasn't using any force, it felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds, and I could only follow him as he led me forward. I stared blankly at his back, knowing in my heart that he couldn't possibly be my child. After all, my own child refused to see me, despised me for being a belly dancer, and would never call me mother, yet I couldn't help myself, couldn't resist going along with him, until he led me to the entrance of a tea house. He finally let go of me and joyfully ran toward the man ahead. Dad, I brought Mom over. I looked up and saw Xie Huiping. A smile played at the corners of his lips, and he said with certainty, so you've been reborn too. I've fallen into the trap. I wanted to escape, but Xie Huiping was faster. He dragged me into the tea house, trapped me in a private room, and pressed me to tell him when I had returned. He sneered and praised my acting skills, saying I had managed to hide for so long. That's when I realized he had actually been having me watched all along. Seeing that I wouldn't speak, he didn't get angry. Instead, he called for a few matrons to escort me back to the mansion. I refused, but there was no way forward. I stepped back, retreating to the window, pushed it open, and prepared to jump out. But this is the 2nd floor. If I jump, I'll definitely get hurt, and even then, I might not be able to escape. Xie Huiping chimed in with a sarcastic remark, go ahead and jump. It'd be even better if you broke your leg. Let's see how you'll run then. Just as I was at my wit's end, I spotted Du Chengguang about 100 meters away. I quickly shouted to him, Du Chengguang, help me. Xie Huiping was startled, afraid that I might really be rescued, and hurried over to pull me back. Shut up. I pushed him away, climbed onto the windowsill without a second thought, closed my eyes, and jumped. I knew that Du Chengguang would definitely save me, even if I got hurt. He would. The expected pain never came. I fell into a warm and reassuring embrace. I let out a long breath, wanting Du Chongguang to put me down, but I saw his eyes blazing as he glared fiercely at an angle above. There, Xie Huiping was also looking at him coldly. The two men didn't face off for long. In just the blink of an eye, Xie Huiping abruptly pulled down the window, cutting off the outside gaze. I breathed a sigh of relief and tugged at Du Chongguang's sleeve. "Sir, please put me down." "Let's go back." Du Chongguang carefully examined my expression to make sure I wasn't injured before setting me down. By the time we returned home, Du's mother was already there. She looked somewhat surprised to see me returning together with Du Chongguang. "It's quite a surprise today. You two actually went out together." I smiled without saying a word, then turned and went into the kitchen to get busy. Du's mother pulled Du Chongguang into the room and brought up his marriage. Today I went to the matchmaker's place to take a look. None of the girls she introduced can compare to Mainyang, yet that matchmaker praised them as if they were heavenly beauties. "You, young man, just don't know how lucky you are. You have someone at home who is perfect in every way, yet you refuse her." Before Du's mother could finish speaking, Du Chongguang interrupted her. "Alright." Du's mother was taken aback. "Alright, what do you mean by alright?" Du Chongguang suddenly lowered his voice. "I want to marry Mainyang." Du's mother was overjoyed and couldn't help raising her voice. "You've come around, my boy. I've brought it up 5 times already, and you've finally agreed. I'll go tell her right away." Du Chongguang quickly grabbed his mother's arm. "Mother, wait a moment. Let me talk to her. I'm afraid she might not be willing." Mother Du smiled with her eyes nearly closed. Alright, you go talk to her." It wasn't that Du Chongguang had been unwilling to marry Mainyang before, he simply didn't dare. He was afraid that his future troubles might implicate her. But now he could no longer afford to worry about that. The look in Xie Huiping's eyes today made it clear he hadn't given up yet. Since both options carry risks, it's better to fulfill my own desires. He had never been one to procrastinate, so after finishing dinner, he went to the kitchen to find her. He asked the question he had been pondering for years. "Mainyang, will you marry me?" When Du Chongguang asked that question, I was washing dishes. I didn't catch what he said the first time, until he asked a second time. In a moment of carelessness, the bowl in my hand fell. The kitchen floor was soft, and the bowl made a dull sound when it hit the ground, but it didn't break. Yet Du Chongguang, for once, misjudged the situation and said, "Breaking brings peace." I couldn't help but chuckle. Bending down to pick up the bowl, it didn't break. I carefully washed the dishes and utensils, placing them in their designated basket. After wiping my hands dry, I gently smoothed my hair. Once I was ready, I turned around and said to him with a smile, "Alright, I'll marry you. I hope you won't mind me being a handful." Du Chongguang twitched the corner of his mouth, looking as if he wanted to smile but couldn't quite manage it. It was rather unpleasant to see. It was only then that I realized the thick beard that had always been on his face seemed to have disappeared at some point without me noticing. He said, "No, I'm a trouble myself. I hope you won't mind." Perhaps it was because the moonlight was too beautiful, the breeze too gentle. I had no mind to ask him what trouble he had, my head full of shyness and anticipation. I thought, no matter how big his troubles were, they couldn't be bigger than mine. Ever since that day he met Mainyang on the street, Xie Huiping had been seething with resentment. He especially couldn't stand the sight of the children at home, always finding them stupid and inferior to those born of Mainyang. Lady Li did not understand why he had suddenly changed so drastically in temperament. She patiently explained. "The children are still young, we can teach them slowly. When they are a bit older, we can hire renowned masters to instruct them. You don't understand. The heir back then could walk at 1 year old and recite poetry at 2. At such a young age, he was accepted as the final disciple by a great scholar. How can the current fools compare to him?" Lady Li was surprised. "My lord, have you already decided which child will be appointed as the heir?" "Currently, there are 3 children in the household, each born from a different mother. Previously, Xie Huiping had never shown any particular preference for any of them, which was why she asked this question." Xie Huiping realized he had spoken inappropriately and tried to make amends, saying, "What I meant was, if any of the children were to be that intelligent, we should certainly appoint him as the heir." Lady Li smiled and said, "Children of such intelligence are indeed rare in this world." Xie Huiping thought to himself, such things are rare in this world, but in his previous life, his Xie family had 7 of them. The children born to my Niang were all exceptionally clever and bright. Back then, who didn't envy him, who didn't praise him for raising them so well? The more he thought about it, the more unwilling he became. After pondering for half the night, he decided he must take my Niang back. 6 years ago, he had given up because he didn't want to offend the second prince. And he had regretted it ever since. I must have her now, no matter what. After making up his mind, Xie Huaiping summoned the steward the next day, intending to have him find some martial artists from the martial world, but before he could find anyone, his father-in-law, Minister Li of the Ministry of Personnel, sent someone to invite him over for a chat. As soon as Minister Li saw him, he slammed an invitation letter onto the table. Xie Huaiping, you've got some nerve. How dare you forcibly seize a married woman? It turned out that Mainyang was about to marry that city guard soldier. That soldier, relying on his past connection with the second prince, sent the wedding invitation to the second prince and incidentally lodged a complaint against him. The second prince then slammed the invitation in front of his father-in-law, pressuring him to take action. Xie Huaiping suppressed his anger and said in a gentle tone that he would never dare to do it again. After listening to his lecture for another half an hour, Lord Li finally waved his hand to let him go. Xie Huaiping did not go straight home. Instead, he went to the fourth prince's residence. In his previous life, the one who ascended the throne was neither the eldest prince, the legitimate heir, nor the second prince, who was at the height of his influence. But now, it seems the fourth prince has no intention of competing for the throne. Back then, when the eldest and second princes fought for the throne, they both ended up severely weakened. The fourth prince was the only healthy son of the emperor, so the throne naturally fell to him. After being reborn, he thought the path to seizing the throne was too perilous. The more one did, the more mistakes one would make, so he had no intention of interfering. He only thought of a way to befriend the fourth prince. He couldn't wait any longer. The thought of the second prince enjoying nearly a decade more of glory was unbearable. He had to bring down the second prince as quickly as possible. Then he would snatch my Niang back from that city guard. On the second day after our wedding, my husband and I hid in our room sorting through the congratulatory gifts from our guests. Among them was a quaint little box, which I casually opened, only to find a large, dazzlingly radiant pearl inside. I had never seen anything like it before and was so startled that I quickly closed it again. Stammering, I asked Du Chongguang, "Husband, what is this? Why does it glow?" At that moment, Du Chongguang, who was idly combing my hair out of boredom, took the box from me upon hearing my words and opened it casually. He said indifferently, "These are Dongzhu pearls, sent by the second prince." Right, always giving things that can't be used right now. He disdainfully tossed the box aside. This was the first time I had heard they were sent by the second prince, and secondly, I felt the gift was precious. Unlike his casual manner, I carefully put the box away. I want to find a place to hide it, but there really isn't anywhere in the house that can hide something this valuable. Du Chongguang casually lifted a brick near the foot of the bed and gestured to me. "Hide it in here." I bent down to look, and what I saw startled me even more. There was actually a lot of gold, silver, and treasures inside. This doesn't seem like something that should be in this house. I was momentarily flustered, clutching my chest and gasping for breath. Seeing me like this, Du Chongguang anxiously held me close. "Are you all right? I didn't mean to hide it from you. These were things I stole from the stronghold back in the day, not taken directly from anyone's home. Don't worry, it's all been cleared now." He said he used to be just a common villager. When his family suffered a disaster during his childhood, he joined the Liangshan bandits and became an outlaw just to have a bite to eat. After spending a few years in the bandits' den, he encountered the second prince who had sneaked into the stronghold. Persuaded by the second prince, he helped him suppress the bandits. In exchange, the second prince helped him clear his identity. That's how Du Chongguang became the city guard he is today. He rambled on and on, laying bare all of his past origins. I took a deep breath. Thank goodness. Thank goodness he wasn't some notorious bandit. Even if he had been a bandit before, he had since turned over a new leaf. I asked him again, "When you mentioned trouble earlier, did you mean that you used to be a bandit?" He shook his head. "It's more than that. I was brought to the capital by the second prince. Even though I've only been a city guard all these years, I'm naturally seen as one of his people. Now that both the crown prince and the second prince are vying for the throne, sooner or later, I'll inevitably get caught up in it. When that time comes, life and death will be out of my hands." I held his hand, not knowing what to say for a moment. He sighed and said, "Now, for your sake, I can no longer just be a city guard. I'm afraid my appointment will come down in a few days." He was right. In just 5 days, he was transferred to the Ministry of War by an official document. In addition, the second prince sent over a house, a clear gesture of promotion. Before moving, Du Chongguang took us to see the house gifted by the second prince. Surprisingly, there was also a plum tree in that house. I was overjoyed and insisted on climbing the tree, afraid I might get hurt. Du Chongguang wouldn't let me climb by myself. Instead, he held me, gave a light push with his foot. And we were up in no time. I sat in the tree, feeling very happy. Mother Du laughed at us from under the tree. You're so grown up, yet you still love climbing trees so much. Be careful of bugs. Well, extreme joy begets sorrow. While still in the tree, I broke out in a rash. Mother Du anxiously slapped her own mouth. Pa, what a jinx, letting you talk nonsense. I quickly stopped her. Mother, it's not your fault. My husband has already gone to fetch the doctor. Please don't worry. We waited less than a quarter of an hour before the doctor arrived. He took my pulse, and after a short while, he released my hand and congratulated us with a smile. Madam, you are with child. The rash on your body is nothing serious. Just take a bath with medicinal herbs tonight and it will be completely healed. Du's mother happily hugged me. Oh, my dear Mainyang, you truly are a lucky star. Du Chongguang was also overjoyed, after seeing the doctor out. He returned and immediately said he wanted to buy a few servants. He then told his mother to start packing. That house is beneficial for us. We should move in as soon as possible. With the whole family working together, we moved into the new house in just 3 days. 10 months later, I gave birth to my eldest daughter. My husband named her Jiao Jiao. By the time Jiao Jiao was 3 years old, she was already walking steadily and very agile. We adults could hardly keep up with her. So Du Chongguang had to go to the matchmaker again and buy a young maid who was a year or two older than Jiao Jiao and had nimble feet. He was specifically following her. That day, the little maid rushed home in a panic and told us that Jiao Jiao was missing. We were frantic, and the whole family went out to search. Fortunately, Jiao Jiao was clever. When she noticed the little maid was gone, she obediently stood waiting in front of the sugar figurine stall. When I found her, she was staring at the sugar figurine in the old man's hand, drooling. I was so anxious that I slapped her bottom. The little girl knew she was in the wrong, but she didn't cry. Instead, she pitifully said, "Mommy, I want to eat the sugar figurine." I resigned myself to buying her a string of sugar figurines. When she was happy, I took her hand and led her home, but after just a few steps, I felt someone watching me. I turned my head and saw Xie Huiping. He was staring at us with a sinister look. My heart panicked, and I quickly picked up Jiao Jiao. Jiao Jiao, with the candy in her mouth, said, "Mom, Jiao Jiao can walk by herself. Dad said Mom is pregnant with a baby and can't carry Jiao Jiao anymore." I didn't speak, just held her tightly, my eyes fixed fiercely on Xie Huiping. It was as if I was ready to fight him to the death if he dared lay a hand on her. Xie Huiping didn't stare for long. A richly dressed, slightly plump nobleman emerged from the tea house behind him. He said something to Xie Huiping, and then Xie Huiping followed him inside. As soon as he left, I took Jiao Jiao home. Once I got home, I couldn't shake off a sense of unease. In that brief glance earlier, I happened to catch sight of the jade pendant on the nobleman, which had the character U engraved on it. I had once heard Du Chongguang mention the characteristics of the princes. The fourth prince was named Yu, slightly plump in stature, and he bore a striking resemblance to the gentleman who was with Xie Huiping today. In my previous life, I was always confined within the Marquis's residence and had little knowledge of court affairs, but I knew Xie Huiping well. His status was not low, so there was no need for him to curry favor with a prince who seemed to have no chance at the throne. His current actions, however, suggest that the fourth prince might be the one to ascend the throne in the future. But I had heard from Du Chongguang that the fourth prince had been weak in both literary and military skills since childhood and had long given up any ambition to compete for the throne. Will he truly be the one to ascend the throne in the future? That night, just before going to bed, I subtly asked Du Chongguang whether the fourth prince had any chance of succeeding to the throne. Du Chongguang shook his head. The fourth prince has indeed been more diligent lately and has accomplished a few significant deeds, but compared to the first and second princes, he still falls short. The emperor would not choose him. Still, I couldn't shake off my unease. After much thought, I ended up telling him about my encounter with Xie Huiping on the street that day. Today, Jiao Jiao and I saw Xie Huiping on the street. He was with the fourth prince, and they seemed to be on good terms. Du Chongguang's expression turned cold. Did he take Jiao Jiao away today? I shook my head. No, Jiao Jiao is fine. She just got a bit greedy with food and didn't run into any bad people. After hearing this, Du Chongguang did not let his guard down. He still believed Xie Huiping was a potential threat. Xie Huiping wants to rely on the fourth prince, then let the fourth prince fall too, and it would be best if the Marquis's household collapses along with him. After making up his mind, Du Chongguang went to the second prince's residence early the next morning. I had no idea what Du Chongguang intended to do. I worried at home for several days until I heard that the fourth prince had been reprimanded by the emperor, and only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. My husband is right. The fourth prince is far less favored than the other two princes. How could the emperor possibly hand the throne to him? In the days that followed, I peacefully stayed at home to rest during my pregnancy, with just one condition: Jiao Jiao was no longer allowed to go out and play on her own. Jiao Jiao was unhappy for a few days, but she cheered up again after Du Chongguang took her out for a horseback ride. I don't know what Du Chongguang said to her, but after that, she never again insisted on going out. 7 months later, I gave birth to my second son, Jiashu. During my postpartum confinement period, a major incident occurred at court. The fourth prince was placed under house arrest by the emperor after being reported for forming cliques for personal gain. The case involving the fourth prince had wide-reaching implications, with many officials becoming implicated. Xie Huaiping was naturally among them, and those officials even claimed that the fourth prince's current predicament was entirely instigated by Xie Huaiping. The emperor was furious, stripping him of his title and banishing his entire family from the capital. Xie Huaiping fled the capital like a stray dog with its tail between its legs. After that, I was finally able to sleep peacefully and no longer worried about Jiao Jiao going out to play. But obviously, I had celebrated too soon. Xie Huaiping is a madman. He actually took advantage of Jiao Jiao going out to play and kidnapped her. When I received the letter and rushed to the tea house, Xie Huaiping was holding a dagger against Jiao Jiao's neck. My eyes widened in terror, and I tearfully begged him to let Jiao Jiao go. Xie Huaiping laughed heartily. I'll let her go, but you come here and die with me. Let's be reborn together. So that was his plan all along. Of course, I didn't want to die, but I couldn't just stand by and watch Jiao Jiao get hurt. Du Chongguang is still at the palace right now. Although I've sent a message to him, he may not be able to arrive in time. I slowly approached Xie Huaiping, hoping to find an opportunity to snatch Jiao Jiao back, but Xie Huaiping kept a firm grip on Jiao Jiao's shoulder. Finally, I walked up to him and placed my hand over his, which was still holding Jiao Jiao's shoulder. Marquis, I'm here. Please let Jiao Jiao go. Jiao Jiao was actually in so much pain that she was breaking out in a cold sweat, but she didn't want me to worry, so she kept enduring it. Seeing me approach, tears fell in large drops. Mother, I'm scared. I crouched down to comfort her. It's all right, Jiao Jiao, it'll be over soon. You go out first in a while, and mother will come find you later. Okay. Only after she nodded did I stand up again, gently taking Xie Huaiping's hand. My lord, I am willing to die with you, but could you please let the child go first? Xie Huaiping released Jiao Jiao and instead firmly grasped my wrist. He said, Yunzai, I regret it. Tell me, if in our past life I had treated you better and let you see the children, would you have been willing to come back with me? I dared not anger him, so I nodded and said, yes, I missed those children dearly. If you had only let me see them once, I would never have been able to bring myself to leave you. He laughed, as if a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Good. Then let's do it again. Next time, I will definitely be a good husband. As soon as the words left his mouth, his other hand rose high into the air. The dagger in his hand gleamed coldly as it came rushing toward me with great force. I slightly turned my body, grabbed the teapot on the table, and smashed it hard on his head. Xie Huaiping was hit in the eye and stumbled back a few steps. I thought about repeating my old trick and jumping out of the window, but Xie Huaiping was prepared. He held onto me tightly and raised a dagger, aiming to stab it into my lower back. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching cry came from outside the window. My Niang. Xie Huaiping paused for a moment, then burst into triumphant laughter. Let's see how you'll save her this time. As soon as he finished speaking, I felt a sharp pain in my lower back. The next second, a gust of wind rushed by, and I heard a faint, soft thud. Then Xie Huaiping fell to the ground. I clutched my lower back and looked down at the floor. An arrow, still quivering, was embedded in Xie Huaiping's left eye, and he had completely stopped breathing. I slumped into the chair, trembling hands lifting layer after layer of clothing to check the wound on my lower back. Fortunately, it's just a scratch. Good thing I wore a few extra layers before going out. Du Chongguang came in from outside, still holding a bow and arrows in his hand. Seeing that I was unharmed, he held me tightly, repeatedly saying sorry. I patted his back to comfort him. Afterwards, I asked him why he was apologizing when it wasn't his fault. Only then did he confess that he had played a part in the fourth prince's downfall. He deeply regretted it, saying that if he had known Xie Huaiping was so insane, he would have used a gentler approach. When Jiao Jiao was 6 years old, the crown prince and the second prince finally settled their rivalry. The second prince won, and the emperor appointed him as the crown prince. The eldest prince was dissatisfied and offended the imperial authority. The emperor punished him by sending him to guard the border, forbidding his return without an imperial decree, but he was unlucky. Before the second prince ascended the throne, he fell ill and died at the border. Thus, the decades-long drama of the struggle for the throne in the court finally came to an end. Du Chongguang was finally less busy and could spend quality time with us. Jiao Jiao was over the moon. Every time her father had a day off, she would pester him to go horseback riding. On another day when Du Chongguang was off duty, the weather turned against them. It started to rain. Jiao Jiao threw a tantrum in the courtyard. Du Chongguang called her inside to avoid getting wet, but she wouldn't listen. Du Chongguang then entered the courtyard as well, scolding her in the rain. Jioshu and I listened to the rain under the corridor, and from time to time, he would tell me what he had learned that day or what stories he had heard. I listened quietly, occasionally responding with a word or two. Mother Du, who had been taking an afternoon nap, was awakened by Jiao Jiao's cries. She saw the father and daughter in the rain and angrily grabbed the broom nearby. Du Chongguang, what are you doing? Hurry up and bring Jiao Jiao inside. If she gets sick, I'll beat you to death. Since his mother had spoken, Du Chongguang naturally didn't dare to scold any further. He pulled Jiao Jiao back under the eaves. Du's mother still swung the broom, and Du Chongguang, feeling embarrassed, quickly retreated to his room. Du's mother, still fuming, chased after her, even leaving Jiao Jiao behind. I'm going to beat you to death today. How dare you make me this angry? Who in the world teaches a child like that? Jioshu and I laughed on the side. Once we had our fill of laughter, we took Jiao Jiao into the room to change her clothes. After getting the little one settled, I straightened my clothes and was about to go out when Du Chongguang, without me noticing, had already come in. He hugged me from behind. Were you just laughing at me? Hearing his aggrieved tone, I laughed even harder. Du Chongguang slammed the door in annoyance, pulled me onto the bed, and said he was going to teach me a lesson. I quickly begged for mercy. Let's talk about it tonight. It's still broad daylight, and the child is still here. He doesn't care. He wants it now. I sighed and still gave in to him.